Welcome to the UnderMike show with Sam. Back here again for week 2 of the UFL. How we doing?
Doing great. I just realized when I saved this on StreamYard, I titled XFL 2024 week 2. XFL, UFL. Still the XFL in my mind. So,
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I had to
excited.
think as I was saying it there, actually. I was like, oh, don't say the wrong thing. Don't say the wrong thing.
The football, it was pretty good, I thought, for week 1. By far, the 64-yard field goal to win the game, and the guy made it twice. He got iced,
Yeah,
made it on the ice, made it again. First games kicking since high school.
that's crazy.
He
He
was
may be
on
in
a
the NFL
college
next year.
team. Yeah, he's gonna get a bunch of shots at the NFL with the leg he's got. He was on college teams, and they never gave him a chance to be like the full-time kicker. I guess maybe he wasn't accurate enough, but
Yeah.
after watching that, he drilled 2 perfectly straight. So yeah, that was pretty cool to see. And overall, we won. So yeah, let's flash that up there. Yep.
So I mean, it was a little windy. I mean, I honestly didn't see that game, but followed along a little bit, and I didn't really have to sweat it out, so I liked it.
Yep. Why does it say NFL playoff weather outlook? I have no idea, but must have bumped something. But yeah, UnderMike, 1-0 UFL, takes the record up to 9.6 units. Pretty impressive. As for myself, Splitsville, 1-1. 1-1 UFL record, and still struggling, down 3.95 units. I hit my dog, Michigan. Michigan came through, and that's the guy actually that bombed in the kick. So
Yeah,
Michigan was a nice hit. And then
it's rare you're on the right side of kicks like that, right?
I mean, well, I didn't need it. That's why.
You didn't need it. Yeah, that's a good point. But oh no,
Yeah.
it's rare.
DC was a major disappointment. Although there's a lot of crazy things in that game, even though they didn't play well. I text you when they ran that fake punt or fake field goal, 45-yard touchdown pass to a 300-pound lineman as the first half expires. You're not going to cover games when that happens. So chalk that up to a loss, 1-1. We move on. And then here kind of it's a lot in there. But if you're listening, UFL 2-1 plus 0.9 units overall, 47.38-3 plus 5.65. And then last year we were plus 23.55 combined. So we're over 100 wins combined, over the last 2 years. So, but no, I'm pumped to get back into the UFL this week.
All right, good deal. Yeah, do you want to start her off? What do we got?
I set out some picks that I believe confused somebody because of me accidentally listing the wrong team. So
I mean, I was like, one time I'm like, I saw it, and I'm just betting on it right away, and then I'm like, oh wait, that's the wrong line. But I figured I didn't look at your prior one. I forgot about that, and I'm like, well, I'm sure he just means this, and I bet the wrong one.
Let's start with the mistake, and that was DC -5 at FanDuel Sportsbook. I tweeted out these plays earlier this week. I'll put up. You should probably start following me because I'm probably just going to send them out on there, and Mike will retweet them. Yep. So I try to do like a power rankings and update them week to week, and use that to kind of make where I think the spread should be. I had this game at a 7-point spread for DC. We're getting 5 here. I think there's some overreaction to DC losing week 1 and didn't look great, but I think they'll figure it out. Again, Tamu got a lot of pressure. Their running game was non-existent, but I think a lot of times there's bounce back spots, and I think there's a bounce back spot against a Houston team that I thought was even looked worse than DC. Is unsettled in my mind, still at quarterback. So I'm taking the -5 here. Rolling with DC. And then the other play, which I did not screw up, was St. Louis. And again, this to me is just a good spot. St. Louis -4 at FanDuel Sportsbook. It is no longer available. It's now 5. So we got it at a good number. I made this line 8. So St. Louis, so I give home field advantage at as 1.5 points in the UFL, except I give DC 2 because I think they have a really good home crowd, and I give St. Louis 3 in that dome because it's
Okay.
they pack that place and it's great.
Yeah.
So I give them a traditional 3-point edge at home. They're at home after a tough loss where they didn't fire on all cylinders. But again, they still have, AJ McCarron, who's the best quarterback in this league, and a ton of weapons. I'll get into it. I'm talking about DFS. -4. It's 5. I'd still play it at 5, just being honest. UFL, St. Louis, -4 at FanDuel Sportsbook. It was available earlier this week. If you have 5, I have no problem with you laying the 5. So those are 2 of my plays. And then I have a play I'm announcing on the show. Memphis Boats, the showboat, the boat, +2.5.
All right.
That's at FanDuel Sportsbook. It was opened around 1.5. It's up there. You're getting 2.5 now. Pulling the trigger. I like the 2.5. I had Memphis, just being honest, -4 on my own line. I like Memphis. I like DiFilippo. I like Case Cookus, or as I called him this week on Twitter, let Case cook us. They're coming up with all sorts of like nicknames for UFL players. It was kind of fun. I'm taking this. I think they're giving San Antonio way too much credit and downgrading Memphis too much. Too much reaction for me week 1. So I got plays in 3 of the 4 games. The only one I do not have a play in, Birmingham at Michigan. I'm going to pass here. I just think I may have underrated Birmingham too much in my own rankings, and I feel like I'm so far off here that it's got to be, honestly, almost got to be me. I had Birmingham a slight favorite over Michigan, and they are a large favorite over Michigan, 6.5 points.
Okay.
So I feel something off. I still like if you had to play the game, which some of us have to, we do. You got to play every game. You play Michigan here, but for the picks, we're rolling with those 3.
Okay.
Is there any weather this week? Is there any Is there any weather in the world?
So I believe we have two domes this week.
How's the weather?
Then Memphis is home. Looks like a beautiful day on Saturday. Nothing to worry about there. And back with the weather report for the DC game, which is in DC, not Houston. It's looking about 60 degrees on Sunday. 10 to maybe 15 mile per hour winds. Nothing really to worry about. I think it's going to be okay. So no weather plays this week from UnderMike. We're going to remain at 1-0, 1-0. And moving on, hopefully next week we can get some wind.
That's good to know for DFS purposes. I always like to consider the weather there as well. That leads us into this week in DFS. So I'll quickly recap last week. So we gave out EJ Perry, 8,800 quarterback. He was exactly what he was 6.8% owned in some of the bigger dollar tournaments. He was anywhere between 5 to 10% owned, we'll say, depending on if you were in a smaller dollar, bigger dollar, but he was low owned. He was the second highest scoring quarterback, only second to Chase Garbers. And he did exactly what we said he would do.
Am I here?
Now you're here. You went away.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. He was second only to Chase Garbers last week with 20.74 fantasy points scored for last week. He was 8,800. And he did what we thought he'd do. He created with his legs. So that was a good pick last week. I did mention there was a couple ways to go. You either can use one of the wide receivers with him, both or neither. The play would have been neither. Trey Quinn and Devin Gray busted out 6,900 and 5,300. Not even worth mentioning. And my most disappointing play, in my opinion, Cameron Harris last week for DC. He was 7,500. He got carries. He could not get anything going on. DC was just a mess. Their blocking was suspect. I'm hopeful that he gets another shot this week. But, yeah, so week 1, it's a tough week. But I was very happy to hit on EJ Perry. The others, were a miss. But, hey, Let's try to bounce back this week and go over some plays here. There he is again. EJ Perry, 9,300. He's up to this week. Michigan at home in the Dome versus Birmingham. Last week I had mentioned I liked one of the plays I had put out there was I said, EJ Perry in a trail script with his receivers potentially in a trail script. Well, they actually won that game. That's the one where the kicker made the kick, and they were in the lead for most of the game. So while he had a really nice game, they were never really in a favorable script. Again, they are a 6.5-point underdog, 6, 7, whatever you want to call it, to Birmingham. I like him again. He's probably going to be under-owned again. You'll probably get down there again, depending on what size contest you play, big or small. But EJ Perry, I'm rolling with him at quarterback again, just because I like his rushing upside. They're home this week in a dome. And I thought he really came on strong towards the end of the game. So EJ Perry at QB. And then I have a lot of other thoughts here. And I put this up on the screen. So the XFL, like DFS, I mentioned this before, there's such an opportunity here because there's so much less information out there. And it's just such more of a niche sport. And you don't really see this a lot, but I was looking at St. Louis wide receivers. And like I said, I put effort and time into this. And, there's four wide receivers on St. Louis that are all in play this week, which in the NFL, typically you're not thinking potentially of playing any of 4 wide receivers on a team. Hakeem Butler, 8,600. Blake Jackson, 7,400. Darius Shepard, 7,000. Marcel Aitman, 6,500. All of them are in play. So I like St. Louis this week. Bet-wise, any of these guys are in play. I think Marcel Aitman will be the highest owned because he's only 6,500, and he he's a type of guy that you can go to on the goal line. I feel like Butler's that too because he's a big, tall guy, but they really, McCarron really trusts Marcel Aitman in key spots. So I think he'll be the most popular. That's why I'm going Blake Jackson. Jackson didn't get a ton of targets last week. I think a lot of times in DFS, when you're trying to like really smack one out of the yard, and in these contests, you're trying to take them down. You're trying to get a top pitch because they're top heavy. Blake Jackson is, I think, going to be the lowest owned wide receiver of this 4. That's why he's my pick, and I think he's just as likely as any of them to go off. So that would be my pick there. That's the St. Louis situation. Let's talk a little bit about one of my favorite guys, Jonathan Adams. Jonathan Adams on Memphis. Listen to last week. They also have, now these aren't all wide receivers. One's a tight end, but there's no tight end spot in UFL. Jonathan Adams last week, 5 targets, 4 catches, 49 yards. Vinny Papale, 7 targets, 4 catches, 36 yards. Dawood Davis, 10 targets. What?
Vinny Papale?
Yeah, the son of.
Oh, I didn't even know. I thought you were messing with me.
No, it's his son. Yeah. Dawood Davis, 7 catches, 43 yards, 10 targets for Dawood Davis. And Sage Surratt, the tight end, 2 catches, 38 yards, 7 targets. So this week, Adams is 8,100, Papale is 7,200, Davis is 6,600, Surratt is 6,100. Jonathan Adams is still, in my mind, definitely a clear number 1 here. There was a lot of targets, 24 other targets outside of Adams last week. I don't expect Dawood Davis to get 10 targets again. And Adams, I think, is definitely more efficient with his targets. I'm going with the bounce back for Jonathan Adams. And I think he could be under-owned because of last week only going 4 for 49 on 5 targets. And he is the most expensive option here at 8,100. I expect Dawood Davis at only 6,600 coming off 10 targets to soak up a lot of ownership. And Sage Surratt, he's only 6,100. He had 7 targets. He could have a big game as well. But my pick here to go with is Jonathan Adams. So,
okay.
And then there's some other situations I just kind of wanted to cover here, and I'll give one other pick here. Let's see. So the last pick I'm going to give, and again, it's another team I want to go over their wide receiver situation because a lot of this is, these teams are just starting to gel. DC, another one of my bets. Let's talk about their wide receivers. Kiki Kuti coming off, he's an NFL wide receiver. He's never first time not playing in the NFL. He's their highest priced wide receiver, their biggest name. He had 4 catches last week for 14 yards. So real short passes. Kelvin Harmon had 6 targets, 3 receptions, 27 yards. Ty Scott, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 87 yards. And Brandon Smith, 4 catches, 48 yards, 7 targets. I'm rolling with Brandon Smith here. He got 7 targets last week. He's only 5,400. He's my value play at 5,400. I think he's one of the safer plays on the board. Ty Scott's going to be very popular, 4 for 87 at 5,100. And I'm hoping people keep using Kiki Kuti because I think he's just going to be like a desperate situational type guy, like a 3, 4, 5 yard first down type guy. So that's my those are my, I give you 3 wide receivers there. You could use them all. You could mix and match. Those are the options. Not giving out a running back this week. If I had to choose one, I might go Anthony McFarland on San Antonio against Memphis. He's 8,500, but it's tough. He had last week John Lovett, the other guy in the backfield with McFarland, 10 carries, 14 yards. So not a lot of production, but he got 10 carries again, basically away from McFarland. So that's a little worrisome. And then the play that everybody will probably gravitate maybe to this week, and I might try to fade it. Ricky Person Jr., $5,500 running back. He is essentially the backup running back to CJ Maribel on Birmingham. Person went 10 touches, 10 carries, 31 yards, and a touchdown. And he also had 3 receptions, 43 yards. He's going to be super high owned. It's a tough situation, though, because his backfield mate had 19 for 75 and a touchdown. So I don't know. There's a lot of possibility here. I'll probably – I don't know what I'll do in terms of – I like to look at contests and the structure. Sometimes I play some real high nosebleed levels, and sometimes I just play the $15 contest. But if I see there's a 333 this week, I might go into 333. Sometimes those higher dollar contests, the fields aren't as big – and people can't put in a million entries.
Yeah,
so
right.
It feels like more of a fair shot to take one down. But yeah, I'm pumped. I'm glad this league is here, and the DFS picks are going to come around, and we're gonna have another big spring ball season here with picks. We got 3 picks out there this week. To recap, I gave out earlier this week DC -5, St. Louis -4, which is now 5, and Memphis on this show at +2.5. So let's go 3-0.
Let's do it. Good deal. Bring out the broom.
I'll have to get the broom ready.
Yes,
I saw it earlier today. I had it ready. It's ready to go.
Got to get it ready. So, all right. Good deal. That's all we got. All good. Later.